KeepSpace in its essential approach is an e-commerce fulfillment service, and what we are doing is trying to help e-commerce businesses be able to scale and grow once they've achieved their viable structure. Culture is super important to me, so just to give you a quick understanding of our vision, it's really just to help empower and build people, to be that bridge between people and nations, and to be able to bring them closer together and to really just to care about what they're doing. So in that approach, there is two business models at play within KeepSpace. I would like to just go through both of those and how we've been able to start from nothing, and then how we're planning to use what we have to build into our next growth strategy. So service and SaaS is our direction, and so just to go into SaaS, what that's all about. Effectively, as we've heard a couple of people speak about a product they really care about, they do end up going to purchase at scale. That does obviously take up a lot of space, and it runs into challenges of being able to make sure they get good shipping rates and where they're going to store it at a good price. So we try to provide that solution for them in a warehouse in Bayswater, which has 1,600 square meters, not as big as my dear friend here, but working towards it. And we send out from this warehouse about 8,000 orders a month across the world in a really nice way. We also had built our own internal system using Ruby on Rails with a React.js front end to be able to present their data over how much our flat rate shipping charges are and our service charges are, so that they're able to work within the margins that they have the best way forward to be able to focus on that genuine cost price. Through that information that we've been able to provide, we've been able to get 39 different companies across a range of different industries, from fashion to health and beauty to outdoor equipment. And thankfully we have Charles, who has been an absolute amazing person to see his journey through this process and working super cool in this space. The reason why these guys even come and talk to us in the first place is because we actually come a little bit below the barrier of entry. Other players who are in the space who have actually got a lot of funding have a higher price order barrier requirement, where you've got to be like doing 200 to 500 orders a month. So we figured if we're able to connect with younger, earlier stage businesses and work up to that journey, when they do become attractive to the larger players, it's quite a sticky solution. It's really hard to move unless you're doing a real shit job. So hopefully we do well. The reason that they've even come to find us is because, yes, as Vijay has raised, we do run events to try and educate the space and stick to our vision and what we stand for. We have done 7 live events across the city, and we've done 47 podcasts with Simon, and we've been able to talk to at least 70 different e-commerce businesses and actually understand the main pricing points that really care for them, and then how to be able to really service that. So the traction journey. We've been around for 4 years. My wife and I started from a back cave with nothing, and through that approach we did 6,000 orders with Australia Post, my post business, no margin, very, very exciting shit. We then went into our next financial year and were able to build up a bit of a small reputation, but then, as you know, COVID came through in the financial year of that period, and it just saw a massive spike, which I'm sure that got the attention of everyone from news and outlets and all the rest of it, which we were quite happy to be before the curve. And then through this financial year, we are projecting that we'll finish up with about 80,000 orders. Currently to date, we've done about 125,000 orders out the door, and that's pretty exciting. From a financial perspective, our previous history has stated we've done 14,000 our first financial year. We did make a loss of 27. Through that, the gross on that, I think it was around 8,000. The financial year after that was 117, and that's when we started to show some of our friends who were interested in what we were doing, and through that we were able to work together and boost ourselves up to a 425,000 with a gross of 226. We did raise a small round at that time, so therefore we were using that capital injection to work with an acceptable loss level. The financial year just finalized though, we figured we need to work on focusing on a profit, so our R&D grant application allowed us to work towards that stability. We were able to do another double with a decent gross profit level, and based on this financial forecast, we are hoping to double again and achieve that 1.7 million. We're currently at 1.2 to date with a 870K gross expectation. The profit, we do plan to reinvest a lot into it, so it's not going to be massive profits because there's a lot of capital we've got to reinstall, in this service-based industry. Through that approach, based on that statement, $350,000 we've reinvested into R&D around providing a solution that people have asked. So a lot of businesses will say, really love your services, think you're pretty cool, you got a nice software piece, I don't want your warehouse, but I'll take the tech, can you just give that to me? And we're like, we built it on a monster of a disgusting backend database, we can't really pass that out. So we need to restructure our initial MVP to a level where it's vanilla enough to achieve that. So we've worked with our team across that approach, and I'm really grateful that my wife and Simran, who lead the other two teams within our 3 team groups with our 15 people, have been able to achieve a lot of these targets that we're working for. But through that, let me just address how this R&D approach with the SaaS product is going, which is kind of the meat of this presentation. So the general problem is there is a lot of information silos, a lot of subscriptions, as Douglas has clearly shown. And through that, we are looking to try and take some of those subscriptions out of the merchants' pockets and try to make it a bit more stable across the different areas of operations: inventory management, shipping, sourcing, and website. Well, I'm not building websites for people, so don't ask. The approach, though, is we figured the SaaS product, we wanted to find a road to map that would allow us to be able to grow our user base to a level where the existing IP we have built can be attractive enough to that large audience. So in our approach, we are hoping to build standardized applications within the Shopify marketplace, the WooCommerce plugin app stores, and within eBay. Through that, we'll look to drop in our IP within our inventory management and applications to help in efficiencies within their own warehouse. And should they choose to scale to one of our warehouses because they're outside of our national borders, they have the opportunity to utilize a similar system. So I'll break that down. So the first module that we're looking to is that with Shopify's current 820,000 merchants, we are looking to try and attract into that marketplace with a standard application that will do inventory synchronization. So in a nutshell, you have 2 stores, one focusing on the US, one focusing on the UK. You have a product that has 10 inventory within one. You sell 2 in the US, you sell 2 in the UK. Technically, you've only got 7 left, but one says 8, the other one says 9. So the idea is the inventory sync will just make sure those show the right balance. That's all the app does. Through that platform, we have built some traction in that space. We do have some understanding in that with an application that just focuses on changing the status of orders. So we believe with our understanding, we're going to just launch into this quite healthily. With the next module, as we start to gain traction on people who are using our application and have awareness from us, we will then introduce our IP for our inventory management system, allowing to know their highs and lows, when to know their burn rate through their products, how to then buy, and like what is their margin levels, and just all around good stuff. I won't go into too much more than that. But say they have that inventory now, they're doing really well, they want to improve on their efficiencies because they've taken a lease on a location. Do they go with Sin 7 and throw 30 grand at a different inventory system? Or can they use some mobile applications and try and save on that? So these are just picking applications and packing applications they can use at any station that they would be working on. Through that then, say they're in the US and now they're wanting to expand into an industry that we are located in, they would either have to work with a 3PL within that country and try and solidify a relationship and a good margin price, or they could use one of the existing systems that are already using that software with our warehouses and then drop in and just literally drop it down and go. So the idea is to help create just that platform for them to be able to scale on, which I think is pretty cool. So from a financial perspective, the average service user within our business is about $5,200 in a monthly revenue turnover. There is, with the modules for the SaaS product, obviously there is no proof of this, but this is the target price points we're looking to go for. The average subscription for an app on the Shopify sites is about $20. Inventory, we're looking to do at $80. With the inclusion of the apps, this is not additions, this is the full number, just to be clear. So if they're just starting, their full arrangement would be to use all the software at $160. We do look at what the competitors are charging at these similar rates, and we find that it is a competitive price based on what is out there in the market. So we believe that taking away a couple of these guys who are being used at the same time, like Deere Systems and Starship and Tandem, we believe we can do pretty well. So in our forecast, without any investment discussed tonight, we will just walk away as friends. We will pretty much be looking at the opportunity of doing 3.1 million based on that 5,200 or 50 users to date in the service. We are still working on the application for the Shopify site, so we wouldn't be releasing anything this financial year. We'll be focusing on getting it to Melbourne, and with that, we will then look to release it within Module 1 for the next financial year to come. Through that release, we do not plan, obviously, to do anything but grow traction, so 900 users is a very reasonable amount of adoption rate for the Shopify sites. And through that, an extra 15 users through that financial year is a pretty achievable target for us to go for. By the time we get to the 4th year, after Module 2 and 3, which is the inventory management and the applications is released, that just helps build traction for the SaaS. But with Module 4 being released, telling them, hey, we now have warehouses you can literally use, we are believing that there will be those SaaS users that will drop across their physical products into the warehouses and then start to build both revenue streams, as well as those who are in our team selling our services that do not want to use our physical services but would rather use the SaaS product. It's a much easier closing process for that. But we're here to think about investment. So effectively what I'm asking from tonight is the opportunity to be able to scale ahead by 12 months. So if we were able to do that, I would like to try and bring in a couple more developers to help speed up our development process, to be able to release Module 1 this financial year, which is ending in 4 months. So it's a bit of a tough squeeze, but we're working real hard at it. And effectively, as you can see, we'll be doubling the same 12 months in our top line revenue than it was the previous period. So we feel that that is a reasonable traction method for our forecast. So let's see how that goes. To the deals. So we did in 2018 a valuation of 1.4 with a 65,000 raise. Now, in respect to Yuka, who is also here tonight, she was the one who took the lion's share of that risk, and I'm very grateful to her and what she's done. Through that process, we have now moved forward from that, and now today we are valued at around 5.3 through 5 different models that we looked at for our business structure. It is asking for $1 million at 15.77. Now, understanding the room, this kind of financial level might be a little high. So I did have a chat with Viral about a conversion note to be a possibility. So we're looking at, if you'd like to be interested and you genuinely would like to talk, 300,000 is an opportunity for us to have an initial discussion with a 6% interest on that capital or principal. And that would be looking at a structure where we would do a return of $1,500 a month, paying the interest off, so it wouldn't be an accumulative interest level. That would be a maturity of the 24 months. And should we choose to do a raise in 2 years, we'd give you, of course, a respectful cap at 10 mil. The discount on that conversion would be at 20%. The money that would be used would obviously be mostly within the software development and a little bit of support to achieve that Melbourne target for the other businesses that have requested to use us as well. I hope that helps, and be very grateful to answer any questions.